What is up, YouTube? Joystick back here with a brand new Overwatch 2 series. This is my Reinhardt guide, so you can become a top 500 Reinhardt. My main goal is to teach you all of my top 500 Grandmaster knowledge so that you can get good. Let's jump right into it. So the main goal of Reinhardt is pretty simple actually in Overwatch 2, believe it or not. So this is kind of a general tank tip, but as Reinhardt especially, your main goal is to eliminate the enemy backline to win the game. You want to take out the enemy supports and everyone else will die quickly after that. Why do you want to prioritize the supports / the enemy backline? Because they are the lifelink to the team. They are the reason why the enemy team is like standing and even having a chance to fight you, right? So don't focus too hard on fighting the enemy other tank unless it's another Reinhardt. You kind of want to mirror his movements, but if you're playing against, you know, a Diva, Wrecking Ball, you know, a Sigma, like you want to go in, you want to go past that tank, and you want to push the enemy backline. You want to hold W, take out their supports, and then their tank falls over really, really quickly. Alright, so now I want to talk about shield management, guys. So shield management obviously is one of the most important things about Reinhardt's kit. You really just want to be like helping your teammates and enabling them whenever you can, right? So one of the things you want to be conscious of doing is shielding your team to cross parts of the map. Say these are my teammates, and I gotta cross through a choke. I'm literally gonna like have them follow right behind me, and then, you know, once we're past the choke, I can drop my shield and like, you know, recover it. Also, I want to talk about just protecting your teammates from like quote-unquote important damage. And what I mean by that is like any type of like spam damage coming in. Say if they have like a Junkrat, a Pharah, you know, I'm protecting them from that big burst damage. You know, I don't have to worry too much if it's just like really light poke damage like this. Like it's not doing a whole lot to my team, but like, you know, anything that can like completely one-shot my teammates, like from snipers, I want to protect them like at all costs in those situations. Shield management is like you can actually do what I call a shield dance. So I'm literally like hopping back and forth, or you can go forward, right? Just putting up your shield, dropping it. And this is a good way to actually like maneuver on the map quickly while still having your shield up and protecting yourself, right? So sometimes you'll actually be like fighting in the midst of battle and you realize that like, oh, I'm really low HP, but I want to get out. I don't want to die here, but I still want to get out, right? So I want to get out, I shield dance, and I protect myself and get back to cover, right? You hide behind the cover, which is line of sighting the enemy team, and then you can get back in, right? Next, I want to talk about blocking like an enemy's earth shatter. Like it's really, really simple actually if you think about it. When I'm like facing another Reinhardt, there's a lot of mind games obviously, but when you kind of get to a point where like, oh, you're like both teams you know, doing a lot of damage, both Reinhardts probably have their earth shatter, you know, I gotta be ready to block this, right? So this is where shield dancing also can be utilized. Is like, hey, he might have shatter, so I gotta be careful. I gotta be ready to block that. I can shield dance him down a little bit, put up my shield a little bit more. But the number one thing I say to people is to assume that they have it. Like if you assume that they might have earth shatter, it's so much easier to block it that way. People just get caught out, right? People get caught out because they don't know, or they like get caught out by surprise that like, oh, I don't even know if he has earth shatter. But like at this point, you kind of have to assume, right? If you assume that they might have it, it's so much easier to block it, and you won't be caught out, you know, won't be caught out by surprise, won't be caught off guard, and you can just block that easily. So now I want to talk about positioning. So when I say I want you to play in front of your team, you know, you really, really want to do that. So you want to keep your teammates behind you, you know, majority of the time whenever you can, right? You are the front line. Keep your teammates behind you and you will protect them a lot more. Doing this, playing in front, you are making space, right? So if I see like the enemies, let's say I see the enemy on a burner sleep dart, that's kind of like a green light for me to go in. I go in, I attack the enemy backline, and like I said at the beginning of the video, where you want to take out the enemy backline. And when you're doing that, you're actually making so much space for your team. You're actually opening up the entire map that way. All the space behind you is now open and your teammates are uncontested. Basically, while you're making, you know, these plays in the backline, you're making a lot of space. So that is where that positioning comes in. It's like, you know, at the start of the video, you move your teammates in, get them close to the, you know, past the choke, and then once you actually go in, sometimes I even just charge in. I literally go in. Like, you really just want to hold W with this character. Like, this isn't Overwatch 1 Reinhardt where, you know, you're just sitting at the choke waiting for something to happen. Like, you have to go in and make it happen as Rein. Otherwise, like, your teammates are just going to get rolled. So you have to go in. You have to press W. I like to protect my teammates when I can. Like, say, like, these two bots are my DPS. Like, if they're, like, trying to duel, like, snipers or something, or duel, like, the enemy Pharah, like, sure, I'll protect them when I can. But, like, that's not, like, 100% what you want to be doing at all times. Like, you got to go in and you got to make that space, which actually is a net benefit instead of just, like, sitting there protecting your teammates like that. Just straight up AFK, like, shielding. Like, you're doing a lot more than you would actually think. You're just making that actual space, right? But I also like to use charge to save my teammates, too. Say I got to peel back to the back line. Boom. Or if the Genji's, like, using Nano Blade, I'm like, oh, well, they're going to go for my support, so I charge back in, I'll pin that Genji and shut down the Nano Blade. So keep it in mind, positioning like that is also good too. You can kind of peel back for your teammates in some type of way, right? Now we're going to talk about Firestrike. So this ability is really, really important now, guys, because Firestrike got buffed to 100 damage. So you want to make sure that you're basically using your Firestrikes off cooldown, like whenever you can. Line up targets when you can with this too. Like, I like to spam like different angles where, like, you know, say this is like between multiple buildings and I just see like, oh, they're all grouped up. If you hit multiple, you know, Firestrikes down one like lane, you know, you're gonna be building ult and you might even get a kill because you can literally 2-tap squishies now if you hit both Firestrikes, right? Like, that's disgusting. It's absolutely insane. Not to mention that you can even combo like your Firestrike with Baptiste ult. Consider that. You can actually one-shot a squishy now because it's just like Overwatch 1. So make your shots count, especially with these Firestrikes. Make them count. Use them whenever you can. Build ult quickly, and you're going to be good to go. All right, now I'm going to talk about Earth Shatter real quick. So, obviously, you want to try to get as many targets down as you can, right? You're not always going to get the big shatters, and don't always try to, like, be the person that only goes for big slams, because at some point you're gonna have to go for like solo shatters as well, and that's actually really good value too. So don't be afraid to, you know, go for a solo shatter just to secure a kill. Like, it's actually more impactful than you might think, so keep that in mind, guys. Like I said earlier, when you're trying to face another Reinhardt with Earth Shatter, you have a couple options, right? You can usually shatter him when he uses Firestrike, or you could shatter him when his shield's broken, or you could even go past him, or if you just eliminate him, then you have a free Earth Shatter, right? So you do have a couple options there that a lot of new Reinhardts don't think about, though, is baiting out Kiriko Suzu. So if you're on Kiri, you know, you're like expecting the Reinhardt to use Shatter, and what you're gonna try to do is save your teammates with the Suzu, right? So if at any chance you can bait that out, or you can hit Kiriko with the slam, then you want to make sure you kill that Kiriko, because she's gonna be the reason why her teammates live, right? So say you get a big shatter, the Kiriko's on the ground to the left, make sure that you go for her. Either pin her or like double Firestrike it, you know, in a swing, you know. Make sure that Kiriko dies, because that is, like, you know, rule number 1 right there. Like, you don't want that Kiriko to live, and you want your Earth Shatter to get value, right? Charge is actually, like, really, really important nowadays, because not only do you make a lot of space by just going in, you're actually, like, you know, pretty tanky nowadays, so you don't die instantly as soon as you go in, which is nice. So that's what's good about Overwatch 2. Well, honestly, my favorite thing to do with charge is to, you know, get players off of the map, right? So, like, A, you could boop them like that, or B, you can just go in and actually hit them with a charge cancel, because nowadays you can cancel your charge. So go in. Well, keep in mind when you do this, I like to swing once to, like, get their momentum off the map. Because, like, sometimes if you don't do one swing, they won't actually fall off the map. So keep that in mind when you're going for this type of play. And a really important thing to note is that when you're actually pinning somebody, when you pin to like the left of them, it'll actually like boop them more often than not. And if you go to their right, you will actually get the pin. So unless you like directly charge them, which I did right there. So keep that in mind. There's been a lot of times where I've like missed my pin, or like I just wanted to pin somebody and then it just booped them instead, like that. But if you want to actually make sure you secure the pin, make sure you aim to like the right side of their body. Right? There you go. Last thing I want to talk about is the best ways to rank up with Reinhardts. If you want to like get to top 500, you want to hit Masters, you want to get Diamond for the first time with this hero, I recommend duo queuing with a good Lucio and, you know, coordinating like attacks. Like if you're going to go speed in somewhere or you're going to attack the backline, a good Lucio can help you do that. Or duo with like a good Kiriko, where a Kiriko can come in and, you know, when you're going in, you're going deep into the backline, Kiriko can TP to you and Suzu you and keep you up in the fight. So keep that in mind. I've won a lot of games. I hit top 10 last season playing Reinhardt. So that is what I did. I played with a lot of Lucio players. I also play with DPS players sometimes too, because like if you're a tank player, you're making a lot of space, and if you have good DPS, they can follow up on that damage, so in that space that you made. And don't be afraid to communicate the plays you're making. Obviously, a lot of people don't play in voice, but if you are able to communicate that you want to go in, you want to press W, you're gonna flank shatter, like make sure you call those things out and let your teammates know if you can. And don't be afraid to press W, guys. It's the #1 way to rank up. You gotta press W, you gotta go in, especially as a tank player. You can't be afraid to go past the choke. You gotta go in, you gotta press W, and you gotta like you know actually be like the forefront of your team, right? If you just hang back and be passive, you know, you're just basically just a punching bag at that point. So you gotta go in and you gotta be confident and decisive, and you're gonna win more games. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is a pretty short Reinhardt guide, but I just wanted you guys to know that I'm working on some more educational content, and I hope to see you guys in the next tank video.